Welcome to the PH Journals podcast, where we explore hunting, wildlife management, and conservation. As hunters and conservationists, we know that hunting can be a powerful tool for wildlife conservation, generating revenue and promoting healthy ecosystems. Join us as we explore the latest research, interviewing experts and practitioners, and sharing stories from the field. Whether you're a hunter or conservationist, or simply interested in learning more about this somewhat controversial topic. Hi, my name is Dylan Love. I'm a professional hunter out of the southern tip of the Dark Continent. Join us as I believe hunting is our best conservation tool we have to offer. Guys, welcome to another episode of the PH Journals podcast. I'm sitting here with a guest of mine, and we have worked so closely in the past couple of months. It's been an absolutely incredible journey. Doug, welcome back to the show. It's
nice
awesome
to be here.
Have you here.
Thanks very much.
And just looking forward to diving in. So guys, basically the whole podcast series this year and how we've kicked it off is getting over to South Africa, what it entails, all the questions that need to be asked. And specifically crawling into this one, and probably if not one of the most important aspects of any safari is the taxidermy side of things. But I thought we'd start off with where it all starts and how important paperwork gets. So Doug, once the clients arrive, it's all up. It's hunting licenses that get signed up. It's registers that you've taught me now need to be filled in on day one. How important is the paperwork going forward, and how much attention to detail is the clients need to actually put focus on, as well as, most importantly, obviously, the professional hunters?
You know what? I think it's become a team event. Hunting's no longer about the individual. It's about the team event, and we've all got our admin that we've got to do. So as much as the PH has got a duty to do, the client has also got a responsibility to make certain that the PH does the paperwork well. That's his insurance that his trophies are able to get permits to be sent back overseas.
Yeah.
Secondly, the PH has got to make certain that his handwriting is legible, because these things are still done manually. There is talk of the system being digitized in South Africa. It's great news. It's been something that we've been taking to the departments for probably the last 10 years. And I think we're going to get there. I've been told by the head of CITES in South Africa that as soon as the end of April, the CITES permits and various other permit application processes will all be digitized. So from the PH's perspective, if the PH fills out the paperwork neatly and correctly, on behalf of his client, the client fills out their information correctly, and all the signatories are in place at the time of the hunt. That paperwork then transfers through to the taxidermist, and we're able to do the work and apply for the necessary export and import permits into the final country of destination. Very simply, the paperwork is critical. It is a legal document that is required by the South African Professional Hunting Ordinance, as well as the international associations that deal with hunting and the importation of trophies.
So, just to break it down right to the point of entry, and that's the first piece of paperwork that should get signed once you arrive at the lodge, is the hunting license.
Your hunting license, that's correct.
So the hunting license, what is that? What does that establish within? What does that mean as a client, and what does it mean for the outfitter?
Hunting license ties a professional hunter to the client. In its simplest form, it's a document stating that the client will now adhere to the professional conduct and rules and regulations of South African hunting industry, and that the professional hunter will be held accountable for his actions as the guide on that hunt. That's what it basically boils down to. It is a permit to hunt as an individual in South Africa.
Okay. But, all permits aside, we said we were going to chat about this in another episode. This is just purely so that you can carry a rifle and hunt. Then you get the PH register. out there that records these animals. What are we recording these animals for? What purpose? Obviously, I'm sure we're going to get into that for exporting and all that sort of stuff. But what is the actual purpose as far as the South African government's concerned? And then once it arrives at, say, for US Fish and Wildlife, that's it.
This is the problem with the topic. It gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
The further down the rabbit hole you go. That initial pink slip that we call it the pink slip. It is a pink piece of paper. It is a triplicate document that, forgive me, I think there's 4 copies to it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That document shows what the client hunts, where the client hunts it, and what parts of the animal the client is harvesting. For example, a cape, backskin, skull, horns. Perhaps it's a full skin, a flat skin. It gives the details of what is going to be exported back to the client's home country. Plain and simple.
Okay.
That is then used in the application to the various departments for the actual legal permit to export said trophies. Those permits travel with the trophies from when we complete our work in South Africa until final destination. So it goes through customs, through clearing, all the way through to the US.
Doug, I have to ask, have you had any hiccups with regards to, our third world wonderful country? Have you had any hiccups with these paperworks getting misunderstood or mishandled? Not from your guys' side, obviously, but from the government side of things. Do they slip up in any way? Have you had any incidents as that?
First and foremost, anyone who says that they haven't slipped up, excuse me, anyone who says they haven't slipped up in this industry, they're lying.
Yeah.
End of story. We are all constantly learning because the goalposts keep getting changed. But when the handwriting on the hunting register is clear and done correctly, it means that we are able to apply and submit the correct information in the application. That greatly increases our chances of getting permits returned to us in a good time frame and correct the first time round. If we then have to go back and correct the paperwork or assist by saying the spelling is wrong in the client's name, for instance, the spelling in the client's name must match the client's passport. If we don't have that matching, someone in some department is going to pick it up, and all you need is the wrong person having the wrong kind of day, and they reject it and send it back. So it is our responsibility as professionals that are offering professional service to our clients to at least write neatly so that we can apply correctly and have the best possible chance at export in a good time frame.
Does it make sense that we just go online?
It makes sense.
Sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Yeah. But as anyone who comes from South Africa knows, there's red tape, there's hurdles, there's hoops to jump through.
Load shedding.
Load shedding it's a great excuse. I hate to say it, but a lot of these organizations, there are backup generators. They are able to continue working, but they've got used to the fact that they can just put their hands up and go, unfortunately, there's load shedding.
Blame somebody, yeah.
It's the blame game. I think if we all take responsibility for what we're doing, I think we'll become more efficient in the end. That's certainly the goal with Splitting Image Taxidermy. We've employed various people in decision-making positions where they are able to assist professional hunters, clients, outfitters in ensuring that the paperwork is done correctly from the day the client leaves camp until the trophies are finally delivered to their doorstep.
Well, Doug, let's touch on that a little bit because, most recently I handed in a couple of my client stuff and the process was effortless, completely effortless from our side. And I've always said as a professional hunter, I still believe so, that as a professional hunter, your job's not done until that trophy is hanging on the wall of any client.
100%.
But I think your guys' system has taken that to a next level because now as a professional hunter and outfitter and all that sort of stuff, you're so much more relaxed about handing your stuff over. So is there any more that you guys can progress as far as that side of the business is concerned, where it becomes even more easier for the clients and PHs and outfitters and stuff to make it an easier process going forward.
There's so much we can do.
Okay.
There really is. I mean, with the advancement in technology and the use of barcoding and all of these kinds of tagging systems, we are working hard at taking taxidermy, which is an art-based business, into an art-based business that offers technological security to our clients, because we know how much the guys are investing. I know how much a trophy is worth to me. I'm a hunter. I enjoy going out there, being in the field. If I harvest a great trophy, wonderful. If I don't, it's still a great day out there. But that memory is attached to that trophy. So I respect and appreciate exactly where our clients come from. We want to put systems in place that when the client gives us their trophy, their investment in us is safe. It's transparent. And they can see the flow of the product from the day they deliver it all the way through to the day that it's hanging on their wall, and they're reliving those incredible moments. We carry on about being worth remembering and adventures worth remembering. There's a lot to remember. The fact that we're hunters, it also helps us helps us understand what the clients are going through.
Yeah. And like I know we touched on this in our first episode, and I really want to reiterate it because I think it's become such an important. It's been a bad habit that us as professional hunters have inherited over a couple of years, and I think there's only a few outfitters that have actually proceeded with it. But like you said, we can get down the rabbit hole. But very quickly, I want you to touch base on the importance of pooling clients on your paperwork, because this is a controversial topic whenever you get into camp, because when the guys bring their buddy or whatever, they think that they're going to save costs. I really want you to dive in and make people aware of the importance of not pooling, and then as well, there's not really any benefit to it either.
Correct. Now, what is, I don't mind revisiting topics, and the reason for that is, as I mentioned earlier, the goalposts keep changing.
Yeah.
So since our last discussion, I've also spent time with a lot of the clearing agents in the US. We've done a lot of research, and we've gone back to these guys and said, right, what are the exact rules and regulations? Now, firstly, there's 1,200 different stories. Everyone's got a different story. But we've managed to summarize it into a very basic, understandable process. In the US, I'm not speaking about Europe specifically, in the United States, a husband and wife share the same residence on we have an ID number on their social security. That address is connected to their social security. Therefore, we now can put a husband and wife's trophies into the same box.
And kids.
We can put the children's trophies into the same box. Those are good news.
Yeah, great.
Great news for the client, still bad news for the PH. Because there is one simple rule. Anybody who pulls a trigger must have a hunting permit as well as their own hunting register, irrespective of their age. So a minor, the parents or guardian that's with them on the hunt, can sign on the minor's behalf. Obviously, an 8-year-old who shoots an impala or blessbuck or sable, they're not going to sign their own documentation. Mom or dad's going to sign. Wife shoots 8 animals because she's a better shot than her husband. Her husband only shoots 4. You can put those 12 animals into a crate if they fit, obviously. We do crate things to accommodate the trophy and the safe travel of the trophy back home. When it comes to clearing, the taxidermist will declare that there are 2 hunters in 1 crate. Each hunter will have their own separate set of documentation, Both hunters reside in the same residence, therefore it is legal, because on their social security, their residential address is tied to their identity number of sorts.
It's tax purposes that they...
Tax purposes. So what they're wanting declaration of importation.
So there's no need for tagging actual animals or anything. It's just purely just tax paperwork at the end of
It's
the day.
about tax paperwork, but please tag your animals. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so no, because I mean, it just always boggled my mind that these people wanted us to write separate. I can understand the register side of things, but at one stage they wanted us to crate them separately.
And I was, in terms of taxidermists, splitting image taxidermy took a very hard stance. And we had a lot of pushback from outfitters saying this is ridiculous, because you'd have a husband with 8 animals and his wife shot 1 impala, and we were putting that 1 impala in its own crate, separate paperwork, and therefore there would have been 2 clearing invoices, because those are 2 individual clients, and the clearing houses in the US, they would charge the client per consignment per client.
Just out of interest, would have had any difference in pricing?
Absolutely.
Is it?
On the US side, per client, you can look at about $550 to $700 per client, customs and clearing.
In the States?
In the
Not
States.
from the South African
It's not from our side.
Okay.
That's in the United States. If you put both clients into one consignment, they'd only pay once.
Okay.
So when we last spoke, we were in the front and saying, 1 client, 1 box. The reason we took that stance was very simple. When things aren't clear, be as precise as possible. And no one was clear about how this whole pooling discrepancy was going to be solved. Subsequently, a lot of people have addressed it. There's been a lot of open conversations, a lot of tremendous support. And they've come to this basic conclusion that you can share a crate, but everyone who pulls the trigger must have their own hunting register, which means the PH needs to do the administration in camp before that client leaves, so that you have the client's original signature and your original signature on the same document at the same time.
And from the client's perspective, he's just going to make sure that that documentation is filled out correctly. Because
100%.
that piece of paper that he leaves is his evidence that those are his animals.
That's correct.
Once he gets on that side.
That's correct.
So, as far as the paperwork's concerned, then moving into your guys' side of neck of the woods is the splitting image collection paper. That doesn't get filled out until after the hunt.
Correct.
What do the clients need to have any sort of interaction with that piece of paper, or do you think that you leave that up to the outfitter and professional hunter? It's their responsibility.
You know what? Our goal is to, from a taxidermy perspective, or dip it back for that matter, is to process the trophies as soon after the hunt as possible. The reality is simple. The sooner you mount an animal after harvesting, the better the quality of the trophy will be, not the art, just the general quality of the skin, and the longer the lifespan of that trophy. If we can guarantee our clients a longer lasting trophy and give ourselves the optimum level of skin to work with as artists, everybody's winning. By delaying that process and having to back and forth to decide what to do with the trophy, if the client's going to dip and pack or taxidermy, the theory is it's going to reduce the lifespan even marginally.
Okay.
So in the earlier years, we used to try and get the clients to fill out as much of that information as possible. But I learned something along the way. When you go on a hunt, you're going on holiday. It's not work. As much as planning where your trophies are going to be positioned and how you're going to enjoy them once they're completed, as much as that is enjoyable, it's still work when you can't actually picture where your trophies are going to go because you've only just harvested them. And a trophy that you thought may not have emotion attached to it has suddenly got emotion because of the adventure and the experience you went through to harvest it. So my suggestion is always very simple. Folks, go home. Your trophies are safe with me. When you get home, sit in your favorite chair, sit with your loved ones, and talk about your hunt. Relive those moments in your home. Look around and say, if I was sitting here telling the story of my hunt, where would I want to point on my wall to show them this incredible animal that's attached to that incredible story? And then speak to our client liaison team who are passionate about design and making sure the service is incredible and the experience is incredible. Talk to one of them, and we will design how your trophies need to be laid out in your home.
That's such an interesting way of looking at things, and often you get to the end of the safari, and then we're about to fill out the paperwork, and you can see the clients start buzzing and panicking a little bit. Oh no, how are we going to have this one turn? How are we going to have that one turn? So the paperwork thereafter never stops, but it's just now it's digital. You're communicating via email, and like you said, sitting back, reliving those moments, and having a better understanding on how you want your things turned. And
for sure.
So once everything all said and done, you recommend the clients just get back, they relax, and then from there on we pick and choose, or they pick and choose how they would like their animals facing and stuff.
Absolutely.
From that side, Doug, is there any specific way of handling it as far as paperwork is concerned beforehand? So what I'm trying to say is that, just for interest's sake, there was a zebra that I passed through the factory here the other day, and it was skinned in a very unique way because of the African border that it had to be done. Now, I've never been aware of this, but apparently if you want that specific mount, you have to skin it. It's upwards from the stomach, not from the back. Is there any importance to stuff like this? Because we've got to keep that in mind as when you're out 100%. In the field and that sort of stuff.
As professional hunters, I believe you're not a hunter. You're not a guide. You're a professional guide or a professional hunter. You should invest the time in seeing what is current in the taxidermy industry. Come to the factory. Our doors are wide open. Walk through the factory. Come have a cup of coffee. Look at all the poses. We will also help the guides with diagrams on how to skin the animals to get the best mounts out.
Okay.
It's not always easy when you're out in the field. How do you skin for a 3/4 mount and the animal's going to be jumping over a log?
Yeah.
Where are the cuts? I don't expect the professional hunters to know this. I certainly don't expect the skinners to know this. The skinners are an integral part of the whole experience. And although these guys are incredible with their knives and do a fantastic job, they are often not aware of what they are skinning for. So I'm just saying, as professional hunters, come into the studio, spend time getting to know it, follow us on social media.
Yeah.
We'll give you the diagrams and show you where to cut and how to cut to get the best possible trophy for your client.
Yeah, because that's all over your social media, it's all over your website, it's pretty much everywhere. But yeah, it's something often I find that when the client's out and having that sort of experience, you might run into something. But most of the time it might be a little bit too late, but I'm sure you guys can work your magic and fix it up.
You can mount most animals if it's skinned cleanly. We always suggest on a shoulder mount, always skin further back. Give us more skin to work with.
Yeah.
If you really are undecided, skin it for a full mount. We can always cut back to a half mount, a cape, a pedestal from a full mount. The clients don't pay more to have it skinned for a full mount. It just means the skinner, the guys, the trackers and the ground staff, these guys do work harder. But we're grateful for the jobs. So, it's the job creation that hunting puts on the table is quite remarkable.
Yeah. Doug, getting into the last bit now, as you would recommend, I've learned so much by coming into this place. What would you like to see become a better habit, I want to call it that, if it is, as far as professional hunters are concerned, and then as well likewise with the outfitters. Because I found, being through this industry, like I mentioned earlier, bad habits creep in, and you tend to follow those bad habits because you get away with them once or twice, but once it gets down painful situations where you got to fix paperwork or any of that sort of stuff, what would you like to see, or any advice you have for young professional hunters, likewise with outfitters coming through?
Discipline. Plain and simple. One word. Discipline. Paperwork is not fun. I spent the better part of 12 years trying to get out of school and stop doing paperwork. I think most PHs, most guys who enjoy being out the bush, man, I did as much as I could to get away from paperwork. But the fact of the matter remains, because we are dealing with the travel of an animal product across international borders and seas, there is legal paperwork involved. If we get it right, our clients are safe. And our job is to make our clients' experiences incredible. We need them to come back. It's not a want. We need the market to come back. And if they have a good first experience, invariably they come back. And that's why we're so privileged to be in this sort of industry, because the hunting industry in South Africa has flourished because we have incredible animals, amazing vistas. It's a safe destination. And we have got some amazing professional hunters out there who give incredible experiences. But we need to be disciplined. I understand. I spent a brief time guiding, and we may have spoken about it at some point. I was never the guide to be with, and I think the industry can be grateful I'm no longer there. But at the end of the day, our clients rely on us. It's our job. I know that it's late nights. I know that it's early mornings. I know that from time to time it's a long day, sore feet. You haven't seen your family in months. I know guys who go 2-3 months without seeing family. I've got kids, you've got kids. It's hard. So I do understand that when it comes to the end of a long day's hunting, the last thing you feel like is sitting down and writing in a register between two very, very small lines. The least they could have done would be to make the lines wider so we could,
or even put more animals on the page.
Help us out, Joe, man.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, it's our job. We are responsible for the experience that our client has. And I think we should all be grateful that we're here to do that.
Yeah. Doug, sorry, quickly, before we wrap things up here, we touch a lot on the US market because I guess that's probably majority of most of the listeners on this podcast. But abroad, Europe, does it differ from time to time, especially like we mentioned before with the pooling? Do the European countries see it differently? Does it get handled differently, or is it the same process?
It does get handled differently.
Okay.
There are different processes. Every country has its own set of rules and regulations, and the whole trick is to marry our rules and regulations with that country's rules and regulations.
Okay.
The beautiful thing for the professional hunter and the outfitter is the foundation at ground level at the hunt is exactly the same. Hunting permit, hunting register, permission to hunt, permits for animals that require them prior to hunting. Certain species do. Plains game, obviously not so much. But the foundation stuff for the PH and the outfitter is exactly the same.
Okay.
Doesn't matter where you're shooting it.
So no matter where you're in Europe or whatever, they still need that paperwork.
We still need that piece of paper. End of story. And it must be filled out correctly. We've even got templates to show you what wording to use in what spaces.
Oh, really?
100%. Because there are still people who do not fill out that register correctly. It's a simple document. We get that right, everything else falls into place.
I never realized how important it actually was until a couple of months ago, but no, it all makes sense. It makes sense.
I think 15 years ago you could have got away with a lot more. But today, with over-regulation of what we're doing. Unfortunately, the onus is now on the professional hunter, the outfitter, the taxidermist. We need to work together and make sure that the administration behind every single hunt is done thoroughly.
Can I, before we go down a very weird space, how much influence does the importance of paperwork have from the other countries? Just out of interest sake.
From their perspective?
Yeah.
Well, if the paperwork is incorrect, they don't let the shipment in.
So, I mean, they're enforcing.
They're enforcing. They're looking for errors. 100%.
Do they touch the paperwork before the trophies actually get there?
Yes. Certain parts of the paperwork, the pre-shipments are sent over. There's a lot of people involved.
Yes. It just gets deeper and deeper, and you don't.
As deep as it gets, and again, Splitting Image Taxidermy has always taken the approach of let's rather be more careful than less. The fundamental that's important to remember for PHs, outfitters that are out there, if you get the paperwork right in the beginning, we'll get it right at the end. Let's work together.
Yeah. They're probably one of the most important things is relationships between PHs, outfitters, and you guys.
Absolutely.
Well, Doug, I'm looking forward to the next couple of sessions with our podcast.
Yeah, this is fun. It's always good to have you back.
Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to it. So, we'll catch you on the next one.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Look forward to it. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
The Journal is brought to you by Treason. Don't just blend, become. Splitting Image Taxidermy. Worth remembering. Maxxis Tires. Covering PHs over any terrain. Magnum Archery. Scullies. The little things are what makes life wonderful. Vanandi Blends. Changing the game. FFS Outdoor. Versatile gear for any situation. PH Toolbox. Helping you make your own adventure.